Hello everybody, today we're gonna play Brawl with Ghalta, Primal Hunger. He's a 12 mana 12/12 legendary creature, elder dinosaur. This build costs X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures you control, and has trample. So we're going to be playing Ghalta in the competitive Brawl queue and see how he performs. He is roughly similar to most Stompy decks. I'll say he's almost a direct comparison to Rona's the Indomitable. The Ronis is a deck that I play quite a bit, so it's not difficult for me to adapt it to a Ghalta deck. One of the big differences between this guy and Ghalta is A, you don't care about that much on creatures with power 4 or greater. You can run a lot of the more cheaper creatures, but the trade-off is you cannot run that many fight spells because your creatures could die. So you play a lot more bite spells, which are, example, Ramp Through is pretty good with Ghalta, where you can do damage equal to its power, and it doesn't have to fight. So you can do the damage and Ramp Through in response and do extra damage. One of the better remove for this commander is also a win con. The big tricky part with Ghalta is making sure you can cast him consistently. So we're going to need quite a bit of creatures. This deck runs 39 is one of the highest you'll probably ever see in a Brawl deck because we need to get Ghalta out. He runs the big issue that we may have to play games where we just don't have our commander because the opponent is just constantly killing our creatures or they board wiped us. So that's the big limitation. That said, we are pretty good if we have an established board and we just use Ghalta. It's very good at eating counters. If the opponent just didn't do their due diligence during the game and you get to the point you have enough creatures and just keep casting Ghalta, in a single turn you can cast him 2 or 3 times, burn that many counters, and now the opponent tapped out, they didn't draw, and you get to pressure their life total. That's the dream scenario, but to get there we're going to need a very good start. Fortunately, we're in green, so we have quite a few ways to ramp early. We have all the else package. We're even running cards like Moltender to help us get to that extra land. We have Burgeoning, Crop Rotation to help us get that Ancient Tomb if we have a couple creatures that have the 2 colorless. There's some in 3, and there's quite a few in 4, so I think it is worth it. We can use Worldly Tutor that can help us, for example, if we have a start with our Gemstone Caverns, and that can line us up pretty well to get our 2-drops. To help us out, we have Rofellas to ramp. Other more utility cards, we have quite a few cards that they can't be countered, so we go for countered. We have the Frenzied Bailoff to help us out. The Lighted Halfling. We have the Ceratops. It's just a dinosaur, just lines up very well with our other dinosaur. Where is he? The Hammer Skull that cares about dinosaurs. Our commander is one, and the Ceratops is a dino, so it makes sure he doesn't get the stun counter. Leatherhead is also one of the big 2 things you want into the blue decks. Not only your creature can't be countered, but also hexproof because they have bounce, so you want to diversify. Only running can't be countered is not going to save you because they can just bounce the creature and it doesn't do anything because you didn't attack. So hexproof is a nice way to, once you burn their counter spells or they tapped out, you want to play these protected creatures. That helps us in our creature side. Our late game is mainly Ghalta. We have a couple other answers such as Nexus against Board Wipes, a Hinge to help us draw a little bit more. This is not a bad World War Hulk deck because we can play this on 5 and directly just cast Ghalta. If we went through the War of Attrition against a lot of these mid-range decks, they may get to a point they just ran out, and we can play this thing. We play Ghalta, and then Chapter 3, we just one-shot them. So it helps us quite a bit. To help us out to make our smaller creatures useful, we have Sauron. He's an Enter trigger, so even if he dies, he does something. He makes our smaller creatures into 5/5s, or we can gain life. It's pretty good into the aggro matchups, and I would say that's our biggest strength. We do pretty well into the creature-based decks, and we try to ramp out so we can deal with against the combo decks. We just one-shot them before they achieve that. Alright, that's how we do with Ghalta, Primal Hunger. What do we play? The Dino? No, I think we play... Maybe we do play the Dino. He's a nice blocker, and he discounts our commander quite a bit. That is a quite good draw, because now our Hammer Skull doesn't get a stun counter, because we didn't have another dino. Okay, Death Touch is not bad. We are going you. I think I will tap for the green here. And let's get the Hunter's Talent. Deal with a Death Toucher and attack. We did have the extra mana, so it was a bit of a mistake with the Heirloom. I didn't count prior. Yeah, it is lethal here. We can give Trample twice. We did have a pretty solid start with Ancient Tomb. And we'll have one of our few payoffs. You can run crop rotation with the stack, but the problem is there's not that many creatures that benefit too much. We did align properly. This was a good hand for Ancient Tomb, but we do have quite a few creatures that are 3 green. It makes crop rotation not that great. So it's one of those cards, I don't know if it's worthwhile going down a card for just the potential. GG's. Against Moxus. We do have a decent payoff. Let's see if we can get there. Not the easiest matchup in the world because they can be pretty aggressive. We do go first with Elf. That is very valuable. And we have triple green for a creature. If the Elf dies, I'll just play the 2-drop. It's not the end of the world. Not a fan of these fight spells being a bit behind. Shuffling the Ancient Tomb is not bad. Because we want triple green. Land would have been game winning, but it's good enough. We need a creature to make our removal playable. If we have one more land, I can play Ghalta. I think, right? If I tap and I make it a 4, I just need 3. Oh, it's not enough. No, it's not enough. What do you do? Yeah, because this guy taps and I need 1 more mana. They just make a creature. Just guarantee your Ghalta next turn. We're 1 mana off because this guy doesn't tap for mana if I tap for a creature. The turn we miss a land is fine. Okay, so that guy is removal. I need to make this guy smaller, which is playable. Deals damage. We can sacrifice 2, but it needs the extra mana. 2 to any target. It would have to attack. It doesn't have the mana to pay the ward. It may have a free removal, but he doesn't have the mana. fight with you, deal with the other goblins, and we can attack. There is an argument I transform, but I would like a favorable trade here. You can go for some damage and have instant speed removal you need to. I can't tap this because I need two mana. I can leave him to 1. See if we can do something. If he loses 1 more life. I can get there. I get to deal with Mox here. I can also sacrifice the Prospector. Alright, the opponent said they couldn't block. They were dead. Also, we fortunately had a way even around that. I was a bit worried if they had an Anthem, but we had a removal for it. Probably deal with the Prospector. And then we have Ramp Through to do damage to the creature, and the excess damage goes to face. So that would exactly be 13, and that's lethal. GG's. Are they dazing? What are they doing for this? If they burn 2 cards for it, I really don't mind. Oh, 2 cards for the Utopia? I don't think this is worth it, but okay. Pretty late for burning, but it's fine. Counter. One, two, three, four, five. So the issue with this guy, he cost a kidney to cast. Yeah, I'm milling. Anything just gets the... Okay, that's one of our better cards. Now we can just pay here and give him haste. We also can pop this. We get pretty close to Delirium. I think I will. If he has a Stifle, sure. Give him haste. Start doing damage. Certainly I do get Ghalta. Problem is what in the board? I'm missing an artifact. It would be this creature. see what they do. They may have an answer for Ceratops, but I do have protection from blue, so it has to be a red answer. I get the Delirium. Alright, huge. That's Delirium. Play this, get it countered. I'm fine. They have to start burning their resources. It's not free. Okay. They lose a card. They have to counter again. Alright. Even if they bounce Ghalta, they have to burn resources. It's not free. And now they're taking HP. At this point, I don't need a mill more. Fine. There's a way to bounce. I may need the extra land, so attack with this. Alright, we got them. Just playing on curve. I don't think the Force of Negation was worth it. But we got to punish him one of our better cards into these blue decks with the Ceratops. One of the main reasons he's in the deck. And the Beastie. We got a little bit fortunate on our Delirium. That's why we played a couple fetch lands to get that Delirium going. And if they kill a creature, then it's in the graveyard. And we got to Ghalta. Then one of the few things, if we do have a board, Ghalta does allow you to, we got to recast him multiple times. And we just keep eating that interaction quite well. Problem is we do need a board, and that's the tricky part. GG's. Sami's a difficult matchup. We need to close the game fast, and this is not a hand for it. It's too slow. We lose the game with this hand. I'll go for it. We have to take risks. Horrific Assault. I do need to Ghalta and just close this game. I think we have to give that up. Or we give up Burgeoning. But if we draw a land, it's good. What if we give up Scale Up? How much mana do we need? 6? I think something like this. Yeah, what do I keep? If I go U, it's not the best. Get some use out of this card. Because we don't use it, it's a dead card in our hand. Not happy we drew our only second source is a colorless one. Pretty unfortunate. I think we play Elf. Because if we draw land, we can play you. I'm not a fan of this hand. But we cannot just mulligan. Extra mulligan game losing. The problem here is the Elf dies. Not much we can do. But if we stay on 2 mana, we just lose the game anyways. Oh, we have to just take the risk here. We need to draw lands. That's the big thing. Like huge. I think we can play you. I can have it. Can be countered, but probably just most likely will die. If not, we have a chance. The next turn we can play Ghalta. You have no more lands. Okay. I'd like to play you, but it is a bit slow. We're 1 mana off to that. What if I do you? We can potentially even name 4. It's 2 or less. 3 minus X. So we can name 3. No, we have to name 2, unfortunately. I need 2 more mana, no matter what. It's going to be you, and you could be. So if the X equals 2. I can deal with their commander next turn. Gain 12 life. Still costs 2. They do reveal it. 1 ring. What if we name 5 here and we just do some big boy damage? Because Ghalta's not gonna land next turn. Let's do it. Turn people into dinosaurs. Just go for damage. Make him block. Down to 10. They do 1 ring. We have that. You get to draw. I can't kill this. Ah, now I can't. Oh well, it blended you perfectly. Yeah, not looking too great. The 1 card that is not too great. Feeds the Brawler, but I need to draw the card. It depends. I also need a way to deal with this. And not looking too great. Also need to block this thing. Or just, I can take it, because I can... I do need to deal with these creatures too. And these are my draws. Thing with this is going to be the start of something. I cannot give his artifact spells flash. That is just not happening. Of course, we drew lands. Gain at least 3 HP. Not much we can't do. At least we can take the damage directly, so it's not too bad. They can definitely brick, but it's difficult. It's only good if it hits something with haste. Otherwise, it doesn't do much. They have the affinity and a bunch of mana, so... Yeah, they survive this turn. I don't think I can win. I don't know what card we could have drawn. Trusting Beast before would win us the game, but we didn't have him. So at this point, I just put it in. Maybe it's worth it. I can untap with one ring, but they don't have flash anymore.
Defying me will be your last act.
We're looking for Paradox. If they have that, we just lose. Wonder why they should probably draw. And of course we draw lands. Well, we got there. Just with this board alone, they bricked. We pressured them fast enough. It tells you also that the problem, even we can get flooded, we have no answers to it. So that's one of the limitations. But dealing with a 12-12 is not that easy for them. They do get a nice block, killing a creature, but they have to now heal for 16 and then 26. And then maybe they can block 1. But that's still 20 plus damage plus the 1 ring hit. That was good enough. Of course, it doesn't matter if you perpetually make your cards stronger if you just draw lands. But that horrific assault made it so that the artifacts don't have flash. So they may have a bunch of artifacts, but they need to cast them on instant speed. And that was not enough. I think he should have just untapped with the 1 ring and try to dig an answer. I think that was a mistake on his part. GG's. Or the post-game wrap with Ghalta Primal Hunger. He's solid. He can probably get you to Mythic. It's not going to be the fastest. He does have some limitations in comparison with the other green decks. Maybe you can see this deck does not run the Strip Mine package. That is a limitation. That's one of the advantages other green decks can do, is they can tutor very efficiently for Strip Mine and just deny the super linking decks. This deck cannot do that, because we have to ramp for creatures anyways, and if you get Borewipe, that's a big issue. Also, we do not function well with Strip Mine because we need to ramp early and get our Ghalta out. If we just stall them out, we need to have a creature, and it's not that great as an aggro deck because the aggro decks runs way more 2-drops and 1-drops to make that line worth it. So that is one of the limitations. You can try it. I don't think it's that great because we need to play Ghalta. Otherwise, just play another commander that's cheaper if you want to go for that route. Still, the big thing about this deck is it is pretty solid against the creature-based decks. We have quite a few removal. There is an argument to not run removal and run more creatures, but I do feel it's not going to make you win against the decks you're bad into. And it's going to potentially make the decks you're favored actually at a disadvantage now, because you need to interact against their odd combo kill. There's quite a few combo decks, especially in the rank queue, that you need to stop. The nice thing about these fight spells is that they're instant speed, unlike a lot of the fight spells that are sorcery speed. So you can play a creature, keep the mana open, and if they try to go for a quick combo, you just take out their irrelevant creature. And also it just buys you time where when you're attacking with your medium-sized creatures, a lot of them don't have trample, they just have nice stats. So you're able to just close the game very quickly. Still, I do think it's a little bit bait running. That much can't be countered unless you have direct synergy with your commander. Fortunately, Ghalta as well as Ronus, if you want to play him, these do benefit from these creatures that can be countered, but I would not shapeshift my entire library into just having can't be countered and thinking I will have a free win against the blue decks. Blue decks not only run a lot of counters, they also run a lot of bounce spells. So one of the exceptions is the Ceratops because he has protection from blue. This is one of the better ones. But when you run the other ones, for example, the Brawler, he's nice. If he has synergy with your deck, he's good. But you don't expect you're going to have a free win against these blue decks because they just bounce him constantly. And then it's the same thing as getting countered. What you want to do is just have a nice curve, have a lot of threats. That is what's going to give you that better chance into the blue deck. Still very difficult, I do feel. You want to run very low to the ground decks. For example, all the aggro decks I showcased before, they do pretty well. I do feel this is a deck that does suffer quite a bit against the expensive decks if we don't have the best curve or the opponent draws very well. There were several games I just never could cast Ghalta because they constantly dealt with my board, and that's a limitation about him. Is as good as he is, if he lands, the problem is it's not guaranteed always. We may play quite a few games where we just never get to cast them, and that's the problem. Because sometimes we just draw a little bit of ramp, and the few creatures we had, they just kill it, or they board wipe us, and that's an issue. And that's where Ronas becomes a little bit better because he's cheaper. He also is indestructible, so only board wipe is not going to be that much. He also eats a lot of exile, which makes our other creatures more relevant. And he also is a source to dump all your mana in case you get flooded. So it has a couple outs. Still, the blue matchups are going to be quite tricky because they can just mass bounce if we are too slow. The one thing Ghalta is pretty good is if you get to land him, there's a lot of the red decks just don't have an answer for him. A 12-12 is just impossible for them to deal with. Maybe if they steal it and sacrifice it or attack you and win, that's the only thing I can think of they can do. Otherwise, you just have an incredibly good blocker, and on attack, you can outrace him, just keeping your rest of your creatures on defense and just attack with your Ghalta. If he dies, he takes almost a 3-for-1 almost, and then you just recast him, and he's pretty good into those matchups. The problem is against the really slower decks that have a bunch of removal and a bunch of counters, you may not be able to cast your commander, so we're going to need very efficient creatures. The issue is sometimes we are reliant on a good mulligan, and in this format we don't get the free mulligan, which is a problem for these type of decks because getting that free mulligan and just allows us to almost guarantee a turn 1 play. So we have to play many hands where we have to play 2-drops, and if they die, we almost lose the game. So it is a bit tricky on your mulligan. Sometimes you have to multi-5 to try to get an answer, and if they have the perfect start, so be it. So it's not bad. I do personally think Ronas is better because he's more reliable and you get to cast him no matter what almost every game. The problem with Ghalta is just casting him is difficult. That said, if you get to a line to a point where you have 1 or 2 creatures and just constantly cast Ghalta, he eats a lot of removal very well because you get to discount him. That is the advantage, but to get to that point, you need to just establish a board. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.